Howdy, y'all. We're here in Texas to feature a house. Just kidding. Hi, I'm Nadia, and welcome once again to yet another exciting episode of House Proud. Today we're in the hills of St. Andrew, and this particular location, well, this house is a little bit rustic, actually a lot rustic. And I think it looks like a barn, hence my getup, you know, cowboy hat and all. This particular gentleman who actually built this house, designed the house, he has had over 20 years experience and currently works with UTech. So without further ado, let's welcome the gentleman of the barn house, Mr. David Harrison. Come on out, David.
Greetings.
Hi,
Welcome.
how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome to House Proud.
Very pleased to be with you.
And I thank you so much for loaning us your house.
Pleasure.
David, you currently are employed with UTech. What is your role there?
I've worked at UTech for a long time. Initially, I was involved in the establishment of the School of Architecture at UTech and subsequently its direction. And up to recently, I have been the Dean of the Faculty of the Built Environment, which incorporates the Caribbean School of Architecture and the School of Building and Land Management.
Well, I know that this particular house has many, many special features, which we'll get into for a little bit, but we want our audience to stay. So we'll be right back. Got some special secrets for you. Hi, and welcome back. Well, we're now about to just take a little tour of David's house. David, after you.
Let's go.
This is the barn. So David, this is your living room. The veranda. And then on the higher level, we have your dining and kitchen area. Very simple, very effective space. You don't feel cluttered by any means. And it is just a simple 2-bedroom, 1 bath, but you don't feel that when you're in here. Your flooring, no tiles. I mean, is that because of the type of house it is, the type of rustic look that you try to get, why you just use the simple concrete and stained it?
It's partly that simplicity, and this is a kind of traditional way of just making up a pigmented cement and rubbing it into the concrete. So I really felt there was no need to go into anything more sophisticated, right? And also, I just like the color because it gives warmth to the space. And then the same color just runs through the whole of the different floor levels, you know? So you kind of get a continuity. I think the other thing is, which you have seen or will see, is because the level, the floor, in a way follows the contour of the land, you end up like in this living room in a space which is really 1.5 story, you know? So that's in a way gives it that feeling of space.
On the outside of the house, I mean, you notice the roof, sloping roof, and then your square or rectangular bottom. But when I'm inside, I do feel the height of the ceiling, but this in actual fact is not the ceiling. This is the level above us, which is your bedroom.
That's right, that's
and
right.
then the roof is actually above that. So how high from ground to roof is it?
From the very lowest point, it's probably nearly 40 feet. 40 feet.
40 feet.
From the very lowest floor level up to the peak of the roof.
I also notice within your, I guess you could say the stairwells, you've created storage spaces, so cupboards to store things. Hence one of the reasons we don't see extra cupboards or cabinets and stuff like that. Very good use of space.
And again, that was very much trying not to clutter the space with kind of cupboards.
Well, I guess we can move to the veranda area. One of the key things I noticed about this particular veranda is the fact that we're standing right now, David, on a circular platform. But above us, the actual roof or ceiling, correct me if I'm wrong, is an octagon shape.
That's correct.
Which is so cute because then underneath now, this entire platform is hoisted just by, or supported just by a cylindrical shape. So I like how your use of shapes. Why decide on an octagon? It could have been a square something. It could have, you know. And does this actually fit into the realm and the theme of the house? That, as I keep saying throughout the show, barn feel.
Well, certainly geometry lies behind a lot of the way the spaces have been organized, right? So where we've just come from, the living area, that happens to be an exactly 16-foot square, right? With respect to the circular veranda and then the 4 columns, right?
Yes.
And they actually make an 8-foot
Square.
And that's exactly 8 foot high, so that's a cube.
Right.
But then in terms of finding the best geometry to put a roof over a circular platform, then in fact the octagon fitted in very nicely, you know? So that's really why you have different kind of geometries working together out here at on the veranda.
I don't know, I mean, call me stupid, but I'm just fascinated by shapes and how architects use them so, combine them so well that they actually enhance, you know, the outlook of things. So, well, so we're here in the lush veranda. I guess we can venture now inside, so we can go to the bedroom area, which is on another level, but in essence not really. Right? Am I right? Am I wrong?
Well, it's up in the roof.
It's up in the roof.
So we need to go upstairs, but maybe on the way we could actually have a look at the kitchen.
Okay.
Should we do
sure.
that?
Yep, let's do that.
All right.
So we're here on the second level, if I can say that. And you have a little study area here, your workstation and stuff where all your brainstorming happens. And then there is the kitchen and your little dining table, which is just so cute. It's not necessarily big, and it fits into a space really nicely. You're not crowded by anything really. You have the space, that little alley or little miniature hallway that can lead you to the kitchen and then even outside. Tell me about this shelving unit.
Well, it seemed a good idea, you know, to have the crockery and certain things, you know, between the kitchen and the dining area. And in one respect, it's a kind of a barrier, but it's just kind of not a heavy barrier.
Right.
So in the end, I worked out, you know, how to put together a steel bracket to really suspend these shelves from the main structural beam above, rather than actually kind of building anything up from the bottom.
Well, and that's what you notice now, that most homes would have their cupboard spaces right by the sink or even into the wall. Here, you've suspended it from above, and it's not in anybody's way. It's actually serving a purpose, and I think as well creating a separation, you know, from the kitchen to the dining. Well, David, I guess we could now venture to your sleeping area. Just can't wait to see what's going up there in the rooftop. Sloping land, staircases, whoo! Oh, awesome. Whoa. So this is the master bedroom, which is bigger than the other room. One of my questions is this. You have an A-line shaped roof, it slopes. How did you manage to build it in such a way that you're not butting your head, you know, on the wall? And do you not feel hot in here because it's so close to the roof?
Okay, well, two things. One is, in terms of kind of headroom, I mean, the actual bedroom is about 16 foot by 12 feet. But because the roof keeps continuing down to the floor and out to the eaves, somehow the feeling of the space is far more than the actual headroom, which a normal rectangular bedroom would be. It also provides opportunity for storage, right? With respect to heat, between this ceiling finish and the roof covering itself, there is a layer of insulation, and there is also a reflective membrane, and those both help to impede the heat coming into the roof.
So we're on our way into the other little bedroom, and it's quite cozy in here. Just one more special element to your home, and we're going to get into that when we come back. Hi, welcome back. With me is Mr. David Harrison, and we're here in his barn home. David, I mean, it's such a simple house. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, standard kitchen, living area. You have your little patio area as well, your veranda. What were some of the main factors that influenced your design?
Well, I think the first thing is, as you say, it's not a large dwelling, and therefore how to, in a way, create a sense of space that whilst not big, it feels bigger than it really is. And in the same way you mentioned the word barn, it's like how you take this big space and then begin to divide it.
I mean, I call it a barn because it really looks like from the outside, the typical triangular roofing and then that square or rectangular bottom, but it's quite long. What is the size of the property?
Well, the total size of the house is about 1,700 square feet. The other thing which is interesting in this particular location is there are no reliable piped water. So what has been incorporated is a system of collecting all the rainwater, storing it and then pumping it back up. So the house is in fact self-contained with respect to water.
So there's no pipe water, no running water that comes from the NWC into your home. It's all rainwater. So where do you store this water supply?
Well, because it has a very big roof, of course, one is collecting quite a large, amount of water for the size of the house. But then all the rainwater goes down to a tank down at the bottom. And there's a pump which then puts the water up into another tank higher up on the land. And it's really from that feeds by gravity in a very simple way the water back into the house.
How deep is the tank that is on the lower level?
The tank's about 6 foot deep, and in total there's about 3,000 gallons of water stored.
So that would last you, let's say rain didn't fall for a month. How long would that supply last you for?
That is sufficient for over 2 months.
2 months.
And I mean, the house was finished 4 years ago. And I mean, the only time I've had to bring up one truck of water was after the drought we had this year, which was really a drought worse than a normal drought between January and April. But that was the only time this is not just being able to be self-sufficient. So that's another thing kind of with respect to the environment and the very fact you've got no piped water. The other thing with respect to the environment is, as I'm sure you know, I mean, in Kingston and elsewhere in Jamaica, there are real problems with the groundwater because people use septic tanks and soakaways, and a lot of the nitrogen and phosphates and all these other pathogens, are getting into the water
Polluting
table,
the water.
which is really affecting the public supply. So in this building, I was able to install a more natural way, of treating what came out of the septic tank using aquatic plants, right?
So in other words, you're recycling your waste.
That's right.
Okay.
And therefore, in fact, the effluent from the septic tank, rather than going into the ground, is in fact purified using aquatic plants. And the quality of that water at the end of that treatment means that it can be used for anything except for drinking water. I mean, it could be used for irrigation, right, or recycling to run toilets. This is how the treatment works. First of all, with the septic tank, this is where the soil and waste comes in from the building. And instead of constructing a masonry reinforced concrete septic tank, this is made up out of 2 water storage tanks linked with the correct piping. And what comes out of the septic tank is known as the effluent. Now this effluent, which normally goes into a soakaway, in this case goes to what is called a constructed wetland. This is where the effluent is coming from the septic tank. And a constructed wetland is really a very, very shallow bed filled with water and some inert material which really holds the aquatic plants.
What about scent or the stench of the waste? Does that affect you? Do you smell anything?
There is just not one whiff.
Whoa.
The plants do all the work.
Well, David, we do still have to go and walk the property, so stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break. Don't go away now, y'all hear? Welcome back. David, in a time when we have such energy problems and issues, you have come up with the solar energy for your home. Tell me a little bit about that.
You really have 3 components. You have the photovoltaic cells, you have the batteries, and you have an inverter kind of monitoring control system. Those are really the components.
So you're still hooked up to our power company, and if their power should go, then you can switch on to your solar. And if you didn't want the solar, you could switch on to the power company's supply. Is that
Well, it's kind of yes
right?
and no, because the circuits on the solar system, they're on it all the time. But if, for instance, you have a particularly very long cloudy period and the batteries therefore don't really have the juice to supply those circuits, then just with one switch you can temporarily put those circuits back on the JPS. So it's not as though you don't always have an option.
Well, David, I think now is a better time than any. I need to see that solar pad. I've never been up close and personal, and I'm really excited. I want to see, I want to feel it, I want to touch it. Can I touch it? It's not going to burn me.
Oh, it won't burn you, it's very inert.
Okay. Lord, I feel like I'm climbing Mount Everest. Just about close enough to Mount Everest. Whoa. You're putting me to shame on TV. Woo. Oh. So this is a solar pad. What is it made out of? I think it's glass, but I could be wrong.
Well, the top is glass. These panels are made up of what are called photovoltaic cells, and it is some crystalline structure. But to be honest, I'm really no scientist. But
Okay.
I know what it does.
It does.
Others really know what's going on inside.
David, you've brought us into your home and you've taught us about gravity feed tanks, septic tanks, solar energy, and so much more. What tips do you have for someone who wants to venture into constructing a home just as you have, and maybe putting in some of the elements that you have?
I think the first one is to work with the land rather than against the land. It's not just better for the land, but it's more likely you're going to get a better house. I think also it needs to be widened to really work with the environment and for the environment. In cases like this, as well as to ensure your building is like resilient to hurricanes and earthquakes and other natural, events, to take qualified advice. And finally, I think to make architecture, to have ideas which might be doing things not in the conventional manner, need not cost any more money.
David, it's been such a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for bringing me into your home. I've learned so much today. God, you're just such a brainer.
Well, you've been very, very welcome, right? To share this with you as well as your audience.
Thank you so much. Well, that's it. Another episode wrapped up. I gotta go, I'm sorry. But I'll be back next week. And maybe we'll be, I don't know yet. May God bless your home. This is Nadia saying bye from House Proud.